Of Americans believe the results of the 2020 election would have been different had the Hunter laptop story not been suppressed by the FBI and, of course, complicit media organizations. A lot of people think that. Joining me now is author of Hold the Line, Texas Congressman Ronny Jackson. It's good to have you on, sir. Do you agree with that polling? If social media and the press, along with, of course, if social media, the press, the FBI had allowed Americans to see how corrupt the Biden family really is, would that have changed what was a remarkably close election?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about that, Rob. I mean, they have been trying to destroy this man since he walked down that escalator. And this is just evidence of what's been going on to do that. I mean, we've had people in the FBI and the DOJ ever since that day that have made it their mission to destroy this man and to prop up people like the Biden family and the corruption that, and cover up a lot of the corruption involved in this particular family so that they could accomplish this mission. So, yeah, 100%. If people had known what was going on in the Biden family and Hunter Biden and we still don't know the answers to all of this, but we're going to find out. I think it would have made a big difference in how people voted, when they went to the polls in November, and I think the outcome would have been right. Completely different.
It seems like there's maybe 10, 20 people inside the FBI, that have really corrupted it. I mean, we've been following this story pretty intensely, and you see these same names like Strzok and Tybalt and Auten popping up, and we say all the time that, it's not a rotten organization or agency, I should say. It's just got some very bad people in some very important places that are involved in everything that seems to be political. Do you think that, does that ring true to you? Have we identified the tumor of this cancer?
Well, I hope so, but we failed to cut it out. Nobody's ever held responsible for the stuff that happens there, and this is the first time that maybe someone's being held responsible with this Tim Tebow guy. But there's going to be a lot of whistleblowers that come out, especially when the Republicans get the House back. The whistleblowers are going to come out of the woodwork. We're going to find out what's going on. But I do agree with you that the FBI in general, most of the people that work in the FBI are hardworking, well-meaning, patriotic Americans just trying to do their job. But they have a corrupt leadership. The leadership is completely corrupt. It's been politicized and it's been weaponized against their political opponents. In this particular case, President Trump and anybody who supported President Trump or has anything to do with President Trump. And there's nothing they won't do to try to bring President Trump and his supporters down. And this is just evidence of that. But we will get to the bottom of this, and there will be people that are going to be held responsible. But we got to get the House back to start with, and then we'll proceed from there.
Yeah. I want to just point out a pretty funny story here about Hunter Biden that always comes up with something. Earlier this year, he sold 5 paintings for $75,000 a pop. Obviously, he's raised millions and millions of dollars selling access to his father over the years. He's asking to have his child support payments to a 4-year-old that he fathered with a stripper, a little girl he's never even met, by the way. He wants to get his child support payments lowered, citing a change in finances for Hunter Biden. I just wanted to get your reaction to a story like that from this family.
Well, Rob, my first question is, why is it that somebody in his family or somebody in the White House didn't stop him from making this stupid move in suing to have his child support reduced? This makes the family look horrible, right? And it's just, it's a family that's already broken, has all kinds of issues, and now you add this to it. And the other question I have is, what's wrong with this family? I mean, honestly, this is Joe Biden's granddaughter. That's been proven. Joe Biden and Jill Biden should have embraced this little girl a long time ago, and they should have been taking care of her and treating her like part of their family. Instead, they're allowing him to go out and try to take away what little financial support that this family's providing for his daughter and their granddaughter. I mean, it really gives you a lot of insight into what this family's all about and what kind of, in my opinion, what kind of morally corrupt and broken family that we have as our first family right now, which is shameful in my mind.
It is. It certainly is. There's a story that the FBI labeled a veteran-led organization as a domestic terrorist group in an official FBI alert after an earlier investigation concluded that they did not represent any kind of a threat. It almost seems to me, when we're talking about, obviously this is another side of what we're seeing with the FBI, this desperation to find this white supremacy, this threat to democracy that they talk about. It's pretty clear that they've almost set up like a quota system. We have to find this because we've politically said this. We're making people so scared of this because we're worried about keeping control of our government. So we have to find as much of this white supremacy as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I agree with you absolutely. And I mean, I think that that's why they push the race card so much, and they try to make everything about race. Because if you can call it racism, then you can justify some of the stuff that they're doing right now, infringing upon the personal rights and the civil rights of their political opponents, and try to destroy their political opponents and their livelihood and everything else. You can get away with that as long as you're labeling as racism and them as racist, and that's a big part of what they do. That's why everything they talk about, they infuse race into it. And I mean, it's just, we have to stop this. It's tearing this country apart. It really is.
Washington Times spoke to rank and file members of the agency who say the demand for white supremacy coming from FBI headquarters vastly outstrips the supply of white supremacy. We have more people assigned to investigate white supremacists than we can actually find, which it's astonishing to me to see that this is what they've done to our government. And we watch this, Congressman, and then anybody that isn't in full support and compliance of this government, they label as anti-government. And then they call you a real threat. You're a threat to democracy if you don't go along with this, while they are actively working to create a narrative so that they can effectively set up what I think is a single-party state, so that nothing ever threatens the size and scope and scale of the government, because that's what government wants. They just want to grow and grow and grow and get larger and larger and more powerful. And they worry that I think the modern Republican Party is a party of smaller, limited government, is a party that's going to come in there and gut this thing and might cost them jobs and might cause them size and scale and power. And I think it's I think that the Republican Party has morphed into this small, like a much cleaner version of what it always should have been. And I think that threat to them is so critical that they're creating a narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just happening just in DOJ and the FBI. The same kind of stuff you just described is happening in the Department of Defense as well. They're using racism and the white supremacy argument and all this stuff to try to purge the military of people that have conservative leanings as well. So it's happening all throughout government. It's not just there; it's everywhere, and they're coming after regular Americans because anything that threatens their power, their authority, and the money that they have, they will do anything to defend it. And like you said, it's really the Republican Party right now that's fighting for people's individual freedoms and fighting to keep this country safe.
Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time. Always good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.